Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about this big news story that's happened this week in the professional sports world with the Olympic sprinter Caster. And I have a problem with this, and this has nothing to do with, you see news agencies talking about this is about human rights. It's not about any of that. This is about people simply not understanding that sports are not about fair play. Sports are about who has the most gifts and talents towards a sport, and oftentimes those things are genetic, they're biological, there are a lot of other factors there, and there are differences in different people. In other words, most elite sports, most professional sports are not a fun run. You don't get a participation trophy. They are about determining who has the best gifts, the best talents, oftentimes then combined with the best work ethic and the best coaching on top of it. That's what you're looking at. There are genetic traits that will predispose you to being better at any given sport. That's real life. That's a competitive environment. That's what sports is about. It's not just about finding those who work the hardest. Because let's be honest here, even your ability to recover from hard work has a genetic component to it. We know that in athletes. Not everyone recovers at the same rate from even doing the amount of work that they do. Some people can do more work and recover from it faster than someone else. And they are born that way. We can train for some of those things. Smart training can help you. They can help bridge the gap. But let's just be honest, professional sports aren't fair. And it turns out this is someone who's a woman. And as far as I can tell, unless I missed something, we're not even dealing with a transgender issue. We're not dealing with anything like that. We're dealing with a woman who apparently produces more testosterone than normal. That's a genetic trait. We don't take men's sports and we don't say, hey man, we found this guy over here who's, at 900 or 1,000 nanograms per deciliter on testosterone, and the average male over here is only producing 450 in the same age bracket, and only 1% of the population produces testosterone at 900 or higher, so therefore we're just going to make the top 1% of testosterone producers take a drug to lower them down to what the average 20-year-old male has. We don't do that in men's sports, do we? Right? And is a higher testosterone level always a guarantee that you're going to be better? No, it is one trait. It is a single trait that can help you with speed, power, strength, things like that, right? It's a single trait. It is by itself not the sole determiner. And how do we know that? Because there are people who get beat who are on injectable testosterone, who have sometimes a testosterone 3 or 4 or 5 times what a human body can even produce, who still sometimes get beat by somebody who is a better athlete, not putting anything, who's just producing a fifth of what they're producing. It happens in sports all the time because the other person is just a better athlete with better training, better predispositions towards the sport. So let me ask people a question who really think that this is a big deal or it's unfair. In any other sport or any other trait, are we doing this? In other words, do we go over to powerlifting, which is my sport, and do we take a guy who's 5 foot tall and competes in a really light weight class, and do we say, oh man, you're shorter legs, and you have way shorter legs than average, you're competing against, in the 140-pound class, you're competing against 5'5" guys, and you're 5 foot tall, you have to move the bar 5 less inches, and I mean, it makes it so much easier. We're going to require you to stand on 5-inch platforms to deadlift, to take away your structural advantage that you were born with and is just part of your normal frame, right? Do we do that? No. We put them in the weight class and we let them stack up where they're going to go, and they deadlift whatever. They're probably, because they're shorter, they're probably going to deadlift more than someone else at the same body weight. They probably will. 9 out of 10 out of times they will, but we don't penalize them for it. That's why we have weight classes, to kind of get around that, so that lighter guys can have a good fighting chance against guys their same weight. It usually kind of selects for height to some extent in strength sports. It does. Weight classes are more or less height classes. And that's what you would tell the guys who are 5'5", competing in a class where a guy's 5 foot tall and winning. Well, maybe they need to go up to a higher weight class so they don't have to compete against him, right? They need to gain a little weight because they can't compete against that guy. He's just going to pound for pound destroy them because he's got to move the weight a shorter distance. Deal with it. So we do that and that. What about, did anyone say to Michael Jordan, oh man, you just have too many fast twitch muscle fibers genetically in your legs. We're going to have to maybe give you some gene therapy to convert a few of those fast twitch over to slower twitch fibers because you just jump too damn high. You're just too fast. You turn too fast. You jump too fast. It's just that's not going to work, Michael. We're going to have to take some of that advantage away so that some of these other guys who are still genetically gifted and train hard that they can compete with you because you're just too damn good because you've got 1% more fast twitch fibers than the other guys you're beating in your legs. That's an unfair advantage. We're going to need to knock you down a notch and cut your contract another $5 million a year. Did we do that to Michael Jordan? No, because the guy was phenomenally gifted at what he did. He had genetic traits that made him a hair better than other people, combined with him being smart in the way he trained and working hard. Right? I mean, that's reality. When you have genetic traits that give you an advantage in a sport over someone else, and then you work as hard as they do, and you have just as good of a coach as they do, but you have a trait that gives you an edge, you're going to win. You're going to win. Especially when you're stacking up against the same level of work ethic, that genetic trait's going to carry you. That's what happens. Because let me ask you guys, people say, well, Michael Jordan maybe trained better than some of these other people. Are you sure he did? Or did a lot of them who were trying to catch him train just as hard as he did? A lot of them trained just as hard and just as smart as he did. He just was born with some talents that made him just a little bit better. Just that little bit of edge matters. When everyone's going at 100% and they're giving everything they got and you just happen to be born with a little bit of a talent in an area, it will go a hell of a long way in a professional sport. I mean, a 1% edge is massive. At the pro level in a sport or elite level, the Olympic level, 1% is the difference between a gold medal and 30th place sometimes. Or it's a difference between a $5 million contract and a $30 million contract. Something as simple as a 1% difference in your muscle fiber distribution. Or do we go look at some quarterbacks and we find there's a quarterback who he just seems to make all the plays just so fast. He makes the calls so quick and calculates in his mind so quick, and he just has these spatial skills that give him this ability to just be faster and better on the fly at changing things than the other people. And we test him and it turns out he has a 165 IQ. Do we say, hey, we're going to have to give you a bunch of drugs to kill some brain cells to get that 165 IQ down to like 120 or something, where you're just smart, you're brilliant, and you're able to call these plays and things too fast, and it gives you an unfair advantage. You just have too many brain cells. You're just too damn smart. And it's just rude. It's taking away the fair play in the sport against dumber people than you. I mean, do we do that? No, we don't do that. We don't do that in any of these sports. We don't tell a quarterback who just happens to be really smart that he needs to be hit in the head a couple times to knock him down a notch. Or that he needs to be, get really drunk all the time and kill some brain cells. We didn't tell Michael Jordan, hey man, we're going to have a drug to convert a few of those, just a tiny bit of those fast twitch fibers over to slower twitch so that maybe we can just take a couple inches off your vertical. Just take an inch off your vertical, maybe 2 inches, just to make things a little more fair because you're just too damn good. No, we don't do that. We don't make the guy who's 5 foot tall stand on a 5-inch block in order to deadlift and powerlifting either. Why? Because people have traits that genetically pre-select them just to be better. And that is what elite sports are. I mean, when we're talking down at the little league level, we're talking at the middle school level, we're talking about teenagers sometimes, it's not that big of a deal. But when we are talking about professional, elite sports, there is no fair play, right? Not everyone is born. And let me say, when I say not everyone, I mean not even 1% of the population. Not even 1% of the population probably is born with the gifts necessary to win a gold medal in the Olympics, or to win the Super Bowl, or to get a $30 million NBA contract. I can tell you right now, not even 1% of the population is born with the gifts and the abilities to do that. Sports are not fair. They're never intended to be fair. They're intended to be a form of warfare, really. Sports are a form of warfare to determine, at the elitist levels, to determine who is the best in every way imaginable, who has the best 17 different genetic traits to make them a freak at that sport. Not just one, not just two. Do they have a whole combination of leverages in their body, different muscle fiber distributions, different sort of metabolic differences that give them a 1% edge or a 2% edge or a 5% edge over everybody else on the field? That's what happens at the elite level. And is that combined those traits with an insane work ethic? Right? Is it combined with an insane level of drive and motivation combined with a set of traits that make you better at that sport? That's what elite sports are. That's what they're a measuring stick of. Your total cumulative natural abilities that you are born with combined with how damn hard are you willing to work. It's the total combination, and it's not fair. Not intended to be fair. Elite sports at the Olympic level, at the professional level, at the NFL, the NBA, right? Worlds in powerlifting. It's not intended to determine who works the hardest. It's to determine who is just flat out the best all the way around on every level possible. And that includes natural born hormone levels, leverages, metabolisms, muscle fiber distributions, muscle insertion points. Who's the best? It's not intended to be fair. It's not a fun run. And it's just absolutely ridiculous that they're going to take someone like this whose natural ability gives them an edge in one area, only in one aspect. And they're going to require that edge to be biologically removed. You have to be kidding me. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.